Hello and welcome to Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast, the show where two former roommates
And they were roommates.
talk about a new movie every week. This week on the show, we're talking about Napoleon Dynamite.
Girls only want boyfriends who have great skills. You know, like nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills.
How was school?
Worst day of my life? What do you think? Idiot. What kind of bike do you have?
It's a sledgehammer.
Dang. You ever take it off any sweet jumps?
What are you drawing?
A liger.
What's a liger?
It's my favorite animal. It's like a lion and a tiger mix.
I'm your host, Korbin Zvokel, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, who kind of, spits like a llama, Kody Webb.
Oh, I thought Napoleon joke was coming my way there. I'll take that. I'll take the llama any day of the week. But yeah, man, excited to be back. Another episode of KHAP. May Mania continues, and I think it's gonna be a fun episode. We got a fun movie, and should be a good one. But yeah, very excited.
In this group, your hair is probably the closest to becoming Napoleon-like.
True.
But you're not quite there yet, so I didn't want to go for that low-hanging fruit. Speaking of a group, we are in a group. It's May Mania. We have a guest to talk about Napoleon Dynamite. Friend of mine, classmate at Purdue, Jacob Sullivan. He's on the podcast to talk Napoleon Dynamite. Jacob, how are you doing?
Hello. I'm good. Pretty good.
Happy to have you on. Very excited. It is May Mania. Before we get into anything, we have to recommend an old episode. I'm gonna recommend season 3, episode 10, Dazed and Confused. Not that long ago, we did this episode. Pretty recent one into April. It was actually our last episode before we started May Mania, but I think some people didn't check it out.
That is a very good episode.
It's a very good episode. It was one of our favorites to record.
If you've not listened to that one, I would rec that one as well. Classic KHAP right there.
There you go. In our prime, in our bag. We're also in our bag.
We might have peaked on that episode. I'm not gonna lie.
We might have, but hey, here's take number 2. Here's our second chance to peak. Let's talk Napoleon Dynamite. Jacob, why'd you pick the movie?
Why? That's a great question. So I told Korbin about this. He asked me what movie I wanted to do, and I was torn between this movie and a completely different one, Parasite, which is like, the same in many ways. I'm kidding, not really. But I saw this at a pretty young age. It was always on, like, I don't know, Nick at Night or something like that. But it's just like, I thought it was the best thing ever made, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever made. And then I watched it like not long ago. I watched it like a year or two ago, and I thought it was still hilarious. And I thought it was like so stupid and so rewatchable. And then I watched it again, and I was like, this really holds up in a lot of ways. And I think it's one of the funniest movies ever made, and it's really about nothing. And I think that's the best thing you can get in a movie. So
I tell you what, I think that really sums it up. It's extremely rewatchable. It's really, you joke with Parasite, but it is an interesting look at, class in America at a certain time period. So maybe,
That's a stretch.
I'm trying to connect the dots for him, but no, it's actually a lot of fun, and I'm really curious to hear Kody's initial thoughts.
Good morning, Vietnam!
And I want to start it off with this, Kody.
Hmm.
Do you think this is a movie I like?
Okay, interesting
I'm
question.
actually curious about this.
I would guess that you don't like this movie, just because a lot of good movies Korbin just hates on for no reason. Yeah, but throwing it to my initial thoughts as well, this was actually the first time I've seen this movie. So props to Jacob, bringing on something new that I haven't seen before.
So,
And I'm a fan. I agree. I think this movie, even though I've only seen it once, I think it is super rewatchable. It's something I would like turn on right now with no complaints. I think the dry humor, the dialogue is pretty funny as well. But in general, like Jacob hit on as well, I mean, there's no real plot. And, that's something in the past where I've said, we're not just going to allow movies to have no plot and not shout it out. This one's on the cusp. I've called out Lady Bird before. So if I'm not letting Lady Bird pass, I'm certainly not letting this pass. And as well,
You're on
this
thin
movie,
ice.
yeah, it's kind of like Lady Bird in the way it's cut up, I think.
Hey, I was gonna make a similar comparison, Cody. So this is interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, Korbin, on our Lady Bird episode, you made a great point of it's sort of like the memories of the director, and that's why there's no real plot. It's kind of similar. It just cuts scene to scene. It's a lot of funny scenes cut to funny scenes, but it doesn't always, make sense of where we're going next. But I think in a comedy, that almost works better than in a drama, just because you don't need that in between that you might like need the context of a drama like Lady Bird. You're just cutting to dumb scene to dumb scene to dumb scene, which I really enjoy. But yeah, I'm fairly optimistic on this movie. Obviously, we'll get into it a bunch more, but I do want to hear your thoughts on it as well, Korbin.
Well, something, Jacob, you're a Letterboxd guy, right?
Oh yeah, big
and
time.
I did read Jacob's Letterboxd review about this movie, and he said it reminded him a lot of Indiana. So I was curious about that. So I kind of wanted to throw it over to Jacob to kind of explain his thoughts there, and maybe I can find the connecting through line with that as well.
If I remember what I wrote, I think my exact words were, "This movie is exactly what Indiana feels like." And I don't know. It's just the thing about I grew up in Southern Indiana, so like it's a lot different from, like, believe it or not, it's actually a lot different from like Northern Indiana, where
See, this is crazy. We got a Northern Indiana boy in Kody. I'm from, kind of Central Indiana, and then we got Southern Indiana Jacob.
So like, I don't know. I don't really know what I was thinking when I wrote that review, but just like kind of the isolated feel of Indiana, because I'm pretty sure, does this movie take place in Idaho? Is that where? I don't know.
Yeah, it's Idaho.
Idaho, yeah.
So it's
funny. It's funny because Idaho is actually like a super beautiful place throughout most of it.
Oh yeah.
But you're right. This movie looks like it was like shot in Indiana. So it's kind of weird that way.
Yeah, I think there is like, it's crazy to me to see like this through line of like American culture, and the reason it reminds me of Lady Bird is because Sacramento is kind of like this Midwestern-y feel California. And I think to a certain extent, Napoleon Dynamite has a very Midwestern Idaho feel. It's like, yes, this is set more in the West and a place that can be very beautiful. And there's mountains and rivers and lakes and valleys. And there's a lot of farmland too that looks just like the center of the country. So I think we can kind of connect with that too. There's also like that weird obscurity, that weird like country culture, but not country culture out in the suburb of a city. I don't know. It kind of creates a through line. Also, it feels very just like 2000s, but also it feels very 90s, and it feels very 80s with like the way the characters dressed. And it's like this mix of time periods that everyone can connect to a little bit. And then also, Kody, I'm curious you haven't seen this movie, but I'm sure you're familiar with so much of what was contained, correct? Like you couldn't avoid the quotes of the vote for Pedro, the Tots stuff, the Tina, the Uncle Rico throwing the football over the mountains, and even like Ligers. For me as a child, like I was like, I didn't even really watch this movie that much or that connected with that much, but I feel like these things were unavoidable in our culture and in the time we were growing up. What do you think, Kody?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had some blind spots there. Obviously, I knew about the vote for Pedro shirts. Those were everywhere. I think I had seen the dance scene before. But, I mean, all that other stuff, I like the Tots. I had no
you were
idea.
out on Tots. Jacob,
not in
like
Tots.
people said Tots and stuff. It was like a thing. It was
no, it's like a thing my parents did too.
Yeah, there you go.
They always just say, "Napoleon, give me your Tots." I was like, stop.
It's like a quoted movie. I mean, even like the Uncle Rico stuff is like, I've seen ESPN post about it.
Oh yeah.
Fair. I mean, if you haven't seen the movie, though, it's probably like out of context. How am I supposed to know what that is?
Well, I'm just curious if you had ever made the connection. And
not
that's
really.
Interesting. But like now, if you
throw the football,
I promise, now that
that's
you've seen this
fine.
movie, even 15 years later, or 17 years later, 18 years later, you'll probably go and in the next couple of weeks, you'll see some sort of reference to it in culture somewhere that you'd never noticed before.
Probably. And I mean, I watched this movie like, I don't know, probably like a week ago because we had scheduling, whatever, my fault. But I think like the day after I saw it, somebody said like, I'm going to throw a football over those mountains over there. I was like, oh shit. So I think I had that moment already. Yeah. So I think you're right there.
Absolutely. The only other things I wanted to say about this is I think maybe Jacob and I can kind of connect with this as like film production people and in like film majors. It is very cool to see a movie that was made for like $400,000, which is very cheap in terms of making a movie. A little story about your life, small narrative, submitted to Sundance, critical acclaim, cultural milestone, makes a ton of money at the box office. That's very cool to see that stuff. So I think that's something you can really appreciate this about this film. And I do like it, actually. So
wow,
that's good to hear.
Any other final thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out the soundtrack as well. I think
the
sort of synth vibe throughout, I think is kind of niche and cool. And then when they get to the dance, they just start playing bangers, man. They play what's the first one? Forever Young. Such a good song. And then they follow it up with Time After Time. Like, come on, man. So just wanted to shout that out. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, some pretty incredible music, honestly, all throughout, which is fun because let's move on to roll credits.
Roll credits.
And I was actually going to talk about the opening sequence for this category. So for roll credits, we can talk about crazy credits. We can talk about things that happen. We can say times that people say the title of the movie in the movie. Obviously, the title is the main character's name, so it is said often throughout. But for me, I think the opening credits are really interesting. You see like Fox Searchlight Pictures written in ketchup, all the actors like put on the plates with the food, and then there's the library books and candy boxes and chapstick and drawing pins, like laying out all the credits. And then you've got that White Stripes song playing over top of it, the We Are Gonna Be Friends, which I think is a really fun song. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool way to kind of intro a movie. I mean, literally just shooting this stuff like top down, and awesome art department and fantastic production design. So
to bounce off that, I said it is a creative intro, but it's still boring as shit. So I don't give it too much credit.
A little long for a modern movie. It's long, but I think in the time period it might be a little dated.
Like going back to the White Stripes song, the thing about like those references following you everywhere. I went on a boat in Florida last week, and that song was playing like when I got in the boat, and I was like, I was freaking out. I was like, it's a popular song, but the fact that I like was going to talk about this movie and I just seen this movie, it's hilarious. It's so funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Kody, any other roll credits thoughts?
I did have one other thing. I think it's interesting, obviously, to just title a movie directly off the main character. And I was thinking, is this the best movie just straight up where it's the main character's full name? Came up with a couple other movies. Maybe you guys have a couple just off the top of your head. But JFK, that kind of counts. And, my personal favorite, Jerry Maguire. I'd probably take Jerry Maguire over this movie personally. But I feel like that's a kind of a strange thing to do, just straight up just go, first name, last name. But
what about Michael Clayton?
I haven't seen that, to be fair.
Pretty good movie. George Clooney?
The Clune Man?
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
That's a good one.
I'll take Hater over a Clune Man any day of the week, but that's me.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Jacob, any thoughts on roll credits?
Going back, I guess, to the title of the movie, I think what's really interesting about this movie, and from like, which I did say it's a movie about nothing, but the idea that the movie is called Napoleon Dynamite is kind of ironic because the entire movie, you notice from beginning to end, he doesn't really change like as a character, but he changes other characters around him that you kind of start to notice. So there's definitely something important to look at there. But I guess he just named the movie Napoleon Dynamite because he's just a wacky dude. I don't know. He's just the center of attention. Yeah.
And it's a great name too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, can you get a better name than Napoleon Dynamite? Going to French, whatever, dictator, not really, but whatever the word is, and then just throwing in dynamite at the end. Like, that's a pretty damn good name.
I did find a fun fact that the name was created by rock legend Elvis Costello as a pseudonym for one of his albums. But according to the director of Napoleon Dynamite, it was pure coincidence. He didn't even know that, apparently. So
interesting.
I was like, it's kind of sus, but I don't know.
Suspicious.
That is
suspicious.
The last thing I had to say for this category is that something interesting in the final credits of it is that all 181 student extras are listed by name.
Yes.
So that doesn't really happen typically. So they do have a little bit of a longer credits, but it's cool that everybody, got the recognition for being a part of this. So pretty fun.
That's cool. Yeah.
Let's move on to stupidest part.
You stupid.
The whole movie.
Yeah. Who wants to take it away?
Go for it, Jacob. Start us off.
Okay, so in my notes, I did write down the whole movie as my first point, but
Fair.
the opening scene where he throws like the wrestling figure out the window, I still don't get that. Why did he do that? I don't know.
I like that. I mean, as well, like, just to bounce off that too, like, why is he still riding the bus? Like, he does have a bike, right?
He's on a bus with a whole.
I guess that is Pedro's bike, but I don't know. How'd they get to town that one time? Was it still Pedro's bike?
Dude, there's a lot of questions. Transportation is an issue, man. I was there. I was that guy in high school. I didn't have a car. I understand it. The vibes are bad.
Tough. But yeah, why was he dragging the action figure, Korbin?
No, I couldn't tell you. I have no logical
Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone on that.
Anything. About two things Napoleon does in this movie actually makes sense. And for the most part, it's there's a lot of question marks, is what I would say in general. I also wrote down that the movie's just stupid, but that's like the charm of it. It captures this like very specific, annoying, weird type of humor. And I think it's successful because it was very original in doing that, and it wasn't a copy or cheap, like unsuccessful ripoff of what this movie does. It was really unique at the time. And I think because it was the first one, it kind of stands that test of time and is able to be like, yeah, this is still funny no matter what.
To throw out my other one that I had, I'm not sure how you guys feel about the scene, but the whole like super serious gym bro, like ninja, whatever, karate scene, I thought it was kind of like, it makes sense for the movie, but it seems just like really out of place. Obviously, like, it's a cool tie-in because they just go from the commercial straight there. So I like that a lot. But I kind of thought it was like drawn out a little bit, seemed a little unnecessary. And then you get the payoff at the end where obviously, what is it? Uncle Rico gets his ass beat by the guy. But I don't know. That scene altogether, it kind of just felt long, and the guy was just like yelling random shit for like 10 minutes. But I thought that was pretty dumb.
Yeah, something about that scene. I feel like every scene in this movie, in one way or another, is meant to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and that scene, like when you're watching it, when he calls Kip up, it's just so. I'm just like scratching at my neck. I'm like, I don't know.
That's a fair point. I mean, if that's the goal of the movie, that's maybe the best scene, because that I was very uncomfortable during that scene. But yeah, that's a good point.
Thought of the scene where Uncle Rico. This is one of my favorite scenes where Uncle Rico takes the steak off of Kip's plate and throws it at Napoleon's bike, or throws it at him. Actually, hits him in the face. That was so.
Yeah,
stupid.
He smacks him.
It's just one of those slapstick moments that's just so funny. It shouldn't be, but it's so funny.
Favorite scene.
She is very gorgeous to me.
I'll get it started here. I think you can't not love the Napoleon's dance at the end of the movie. It's just an uplifting moment, He breaks it down, he puts it all out on the line, and the crowd loves it. They eat it up, and I think it's a great little ending to the film.
Yeah, that little it's like that break of silence at the end where the music stops and he just kind of awkwardly runs off stage, and you're like expecting silence, but it's so satisfying and the whole crowd just goes crazy. It's great. It's literally one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
That was definitely on the top of my list as well. I think if you don't enjoy that scene, there's kind of something wrong with you. But even like the drawn out just dance, like the choreography for that is pretty impressive from Hader. I don't know how much of it was choreographed, or they're just like, just go out there and do your thing, just like, envision the character, whatever. But yeah, I think that's by far the best scene in the movie, and it's such a good like climactic moment as well. Such a good ending, I think. But yeah, big fan.
I think the camera work in that scene is also really good, just from a filmmaking standpoint. It's just the editing is great. It's fantastic.
And there's a bunch of actually more interesting camera work too. I think in the bike scene where they're trying to jump it, There's like some cool camera
The
work.
Tarantino zoom.
Yeah, they zoom way in on them. And then as well, it's kind of cool at editing when whatever the farmer is, when he shoots that cow right in front of the buzz. That's one of my favorites too, just the way they cut that up. But there's actually a lot of like, I'm sure you guys will go into more in the filmmaking section, but I think just like interesting cuts, interesting shots, along with comedy is paired really well.
The last favorite scene I want to talk about is kind of like the little bull sales montage that we get for a second. So first you see like Rico and he's like selling the bulls and he's like telling the guy to like break it. And the guy's like struggling and he's so embarrassed. And I think it's pretty funny. And then you cut to Kip and he's in the car. He's backing over it. It just explodes. And then he just puts the car and drives away. And I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Bouncing off that, I think another great scene is just the setup to the whole Tupperware thing. Because I could have swore to God that they were gonna like rob a bank or something.
The back and forth them at the diner.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, we don't trust Napoleon with this information or whatever. And then they just go out and sell Tupperware. I love that too. Such good writing, I think, and along with all like the physical gag comedy. But yeah, that's one of my favorites as well.
Jacob, any final thoughts?
The whole tater tots bit, it's iconic, but like kind of, I guess this does tie into filmmaking, but like the insert shots of him.
Let's jump to it. All right, here we go. Let's talk filmmaking.
We are Full Sail University. We take dreams seriously.
All right. I was also going to talk about insert shots, but Jacob, go ahead and take it away. Tell us about the insert shots and kind of the way it plays in with the tots scene.
Yeah, so when they're like taking the test and he unzips his pocket and like he's trying to get the tots out. This also ties into the uncomfortable aspects of the movie because the sound is also like just kind of retching, kind of jarring. The fact you're just like squishing those tots in your hand in your pocket. But yeah. Do you want to talk more about the tots, Korbin?
I was just gonna say there's a lot. Like you've hit it on the head a couple of times. It's this uncomfortable nature where it's like it's funny, but I don't know if I should laugh or if I should be kind of grossed out or weirded out, or these people are just strange, right? And the tots thing, it's the insert shots. It's that extreme close up where you're right there next to the like his like jean pocket with the food in it, and it's gross, but it's funny, and I just love the way it's cut together, and it's so intimate. And I think the use of something like that, an insert shot, which is where you take, a close up of a specific item on screen to kind of identify it, is really cool. And yeah, the other thing I want to talk about is just that, this is a low budget film. It's really cool that it made it to Sundance. It was shot in 22 days for $400,000 and it's had just such a lasting impact and made a ton of money. So I think that's really cool as well. Anybody else have any other filmmaking pieces? Kody, anything you want to talk about?
I didn't have too much. Really left it to you guys here.
As always, bringing it down. Jacob, any final thoughts?
I don't know. We talked about like the crazy zooms and like the ending scene with the editing and all that. I guess going back to like the whole Tupperware business plotting thing, the framing and like that diner scene is actually like really good. I was kind of impressed watching it again. And it did feel like it kind of gave off that vibe that they were going to do something a little more malicious, but then they just start selling Tupperware and stuff like that. So
I think the line is, I'd be better on foot. You take the car or whatever. I'm like, oh man, stuff's about to go down. But I think like specifically that diner scene, like you guys are saying, is like ridiculously well shot. And that, like for somebody who's not like a big filmmaking guy to notice that, I think is impressive in this sort of budgeted movie.
I think the ability to play with genre and kind of toe that line of like, is this something serious? And then bring it right back with, oh, this is all just a joke. It is really impressive. And it takes a lot to really maintain that through line. It's hard and it's really done well here in Napoleon Dynamite. Let's move on to weird movie details trivia.
Naked grandma!
Naked, huh?
Kody, you want to ask the first question? Test our knowledge of Napoleon Dynamite.
I'll tell you what, I took a cue from the movie here. My questions are very dumb and don't have a lot to do with the movie. But we'll go straight into it here. My first one. Basically, what is John Hader's middle name? And I'll give you guys some options here. So obviously his name's John. Looking for a middle name here. Is it John Joseph, John Jim, John Joe, or John John?
It has to be John John.
We got John John from Jacob.
Cody, you would make up John John. That's something you would do. So you said John Joe and John Joseph?
Correct. Yeah, those are two options.
And if it's John Joe, you know for a fact that it's not short for Joseph. You verified this?
Yeah. No, I've done my research there.
It sounds like you made. Nobody's name is John Joe. I'm gonna go John Joseph.
That's correct. Korbin sniffed that one out pretty well. But yeah, John Joe. I just want to shout that out because Korbin that was a couple episodes ago, right? What was the name? Joe John.
John Joe is not terrible.
Exactly.
Joe John.
If we reversed it in the JJ, that's not bad. But yeah, good stuff, Korbin. You got a question for me?
Yeah. This is no choices here. So John Hader voiced a cartoon frog on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle show in 2014. What was this character's name?
What?
It's a play on his
actual name.
It's a play on. Think of a French leader.
Napoleon.
Well, like, what's his full name?
Wait.
We need a full name.
Mm-hmm.
Napoleon.
Also, he's a frog.
Napoleon amphibian. Napoleon.
We can get this, guys.
Bonatoad.
Kody, you're so close.
Ooh, it's actually really good.
Frog.
Bona frog.
Oh,
So yeah, he was on one episode of the animated Nickelodeon series that went from 2012 to 2016, 17 maybe. But yeah, one episode in 2014 where he plays this mutant frog and he does his Napoleon voice, and he's called Napoleon Bonafrog, and it's a big Napoleon Dynamite reference. And I just had to talk about that. Napoleon Bonafrog. What a name.
I'm a master of frog stuff. Check out this free demo.
Whoa, gross, but awesome.
I know, right? I'm basically the greatest warrior anyone's ever seen. My people love me. They give me awards and stuff.
I'm gonna have to go look that up. That's
he looks incredible. It's awesome. Jacob, take it away. What's your question?
I have two here. I'm trying to decide. Okay, I'll just pick the first one. So this is related to the movie because, I don't know. I didn't know what to do.
You followed the assignment, unlike some people.
Yeah, that's fine. So I lost it. Oh my God. Where did it go? Oh, never mind. I found it. Okay. So who was almost given the role of Rex, the mixed martial artist that we talked about previously?
Oh.
I'm not going to give options because I didn't write them down.
When was this released? 2005 or something?
My guess for a person who could play that role would be Rob Riggle, but I don't think he's in the space. That's a great casting for that role, but I don't think that's who's getting. I don't know who's at that level.
I would guess a wrestler or something. I guess Hulk Hogan, who's a peak wrestler in 05.
It's got to be someone that's familiar enough with,
The Undertaker.
No, he's got to be. That's too big of a name. It can't be that big of a name.
I don't know any wrestlers, bro. You gotta help me out here.
I'm going Rob Riggle. You guess, or Jack Black maybe.
I'd go Hulk Hogan or.
I'll say Jack Black.
It is Jack Black.
Yeah.
You said a wrestler, and I was like Nacho Libre. I was freaking out over here.
Well, the reason I know Jack Black just because he did do Nacho Libre, which was also directed by the same guy. So I thought maybe there was a connection. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Good pull for me.
I would really like to see Jack Black in that role.
That would be fun.
That'd be very awesome.
Jack Black would have done it too. I feel like. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Kody, you got another question?
I do. I'll hit you with my second one here, and you don't have any options this time, so we're making it a little bit harder. Okay. In 2021, again, this has nothing to do with anything, but in 2021, What is the average salary per hour of a Tupperware salesperson? And we're freeballing it. We're playing Price is Right rules here, so just don't go over.
Per hour?
Per hour, yeah. Nobody cares about annual out here. Come on.
Is this like where? Okay, and I ask where you got this statistic. Was it like the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or was this like some advertisement was like you could make this much money?
No, it's legit stuff. Again, you're doubting my research, but
I just need to gauge. Like,
I did look it up. The Bureau of whatever, yeah.
Labor Statistics.
Sure.
Okay, then my guess is $21.50.
$21.50 an hour from Korbin. Jacob, what are we thinking?
Okay, let me think. Let me use my high school econ brain for a second. Draw a quick supply and demand curve. No, I'm kidding. How much do people want plastic? Okay.
Dude, I love Tupperware.
I'm gonna
lasts
go
a while though. That's the problem. Once it's all been sold, where's the market for it?
I'll go lower. 1875.
You guys are absolutely nowhere near. It is 65 an hour, evidently.
Whoa!
Booming business still.
That's crazy.
But, yeah, point to Korbin there. Props.
We need to get in a different line of work.
Honestly.
Sell some plastic.
I'm considering going to Tupperware after looking that stuff up, but yeah. Tough
All right. My second question. And I need to just ask this off the top. Did either of you guys know about the scene at the end of the credits?
No.
I'm gonna be real. I didn't watch it, but I read about it, but I forgot.
Okay, so Kody, you can answer this. You have to answer first before Jacob answers. Okay. After the theatrical run and then like all the film festival success, Fox Searchlight decided to add an additional 5-minute epilogue scene onto the end of the movie. So they filmed it. Yeah, they filmed it after the fact. Wow. They slapped it on after the credits. It's set 2 months after the end of the movie and cost half of the movie's original budget just to shoot. What happens in this scene? Is it A, Pedro helps the entire school's dreams come true by instituting all-you-can-eat tots? B, Napoleon is gifted a trip to a zoo in Boise, Idaho to see a real-life liger, but is sadly disappointed. C, Uncle Rico takes Kip and Napoleon out into the mountains to show them how far he can throw the football. He throws out his shoulder and then they glumly return home. Or D, Kip and Lawanda get married with Tina the llama as a bridesmaid. Napoleon arrives late on horseback.
Those are all great options there. I would narrow it down between the first two, if I'm being honest. I really like the liger. I don't know if you could have wrote that though. That's not that good. Or you could have written it. What was the first one again?
Pedro helps the entire school's dreams come true by instituting all-you-can-eat tots.
I don't think it would have been tots though. So I'm gonna go with liger. I think that would be a really funny scene.
Jacob, what's your answer?
I really want it to be the last one, and I'm gonna pick the last one.
It is the last one.
Yes.
So, yeah. Go back, check it out. It's actually it's very interesting. So like one of the I can't remember which guy it is, but some guy who from earlier in the movie is like the officiant of the wedding. Pedro's sitting there and Kip's sitting there and Rico's sitting there and they're like, where the hell is Napoleon? Or I guess Kip is standing there and they're like, where the hell is Napoleon? And then he like shows up on horseback and then he like gives it to Kip and Lawanda. But yeah, they get married and it's like 2 months later. It's weird. Wedding scene.
I'll have to go watch that. I had no idea.
Napoleon also might be shirtless. So that'll be, you have to go check it out if you want that. Jacob, you got another question?
Yes. So how much money was given to John Hader to play Napoleon?
Interesting.
Considering the film's low budget as well.
I'm going to say $20,000. That's probably too high, but
yeah, I think that is too high. I'm just gonna go 10,000. That's what my gut initially said, but that might even be too high.
He was given $1,000.
Wow.
To play Napoleon.
Wow. I'm sure he made some money after the fact, hopefully. But that is
I would hope so, but that's crazy.
That is crazy. This is a movie that luckily, was part of the the DVD. It was still in the DVD era. It was before streaming, so I'm sure they got some
DVD boom.
decent sales. So definitely a movie that kind of I'm sure had a life as well at like Blockbuster and video rental services.
Oh, miss Blockbuster.
Let's take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. And we're back with Who Can Act.
Wow.
Kody, take it away. Who can act?
Yeah, I think a decent amount of people in this movie can act pretty well. I did want to shout out, the lead duo, John Hader. Well, it's not really, but it's my favorite duo. John Hader and Edgar Ramirez, Pedro and, Napoleon. I think their relationship is my favorite of the movie. I think it carries the movie a lot. So I wanted to shout them out. But I also want to shout out Aaron Real. I believe that's how you say his name. Plays Kip. I think he might be on the next level here. Him and John Hader are both ridiculously good, but I think the commitment to this role, and especially because, I don't even know this guy's name. Haven't seen him in anything else, I don't think. I think he's very, very good. He has that exact same dry humor that just feeds off John Hader, I think. And sort of his arc, I think, is really funny as well, because obviously he's just a loser who, has a girlfriend online, blah, blah, blah. And then he meets his girlfriend, and instantly he just changes automatically to what she would want. So I think that's hilarious. All of his scenes, I was dying near the end of the movie. And I think he's super underrated. So that's my pick for this movie.
Yeah, I would say this movie is just has a pretty incredible cast. Everyone fits the roles really well. It's very much a lot of people who are small time actors or just real people playing these roles. Very, real type stuff. And I think they did a great job casting everyone. John Hader, Tina Marino as Deb, the karate guy, which is Dietrich Bader. Mac's mom from Always Sunny in Philadelphia plays their grandma. It's just a pretty fun cast for a small movie. And I think everyone is pretty great, honestly. It's honestly really hard to pick somebody who can act, but we'll get to that shortly. Jacob, what are your thoughts? Who can act?
I concur with everything, but I really do like Uncle Rico a lot. John Grease, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
He keeps this bit going on for the longest time. Well, not bit, but just his idea going on that he would have been the star football player. Then he got injured. And he tapes himself just throwing footballs. It's just so goofy, and he does it so well.
Shout out Uncle Rico.
Let's throw it over to who can't act.
That's my opinion!
Yeah, I want to shout out Uncle Rico again.
Yeah, I expected that.
He was my pick. Like Korbin said, it's pretty difficult to single somebody out. I think he's kind of in just a different movie at times, which isn't a bad thing. He's obviously doing his own sort of comedy shtick. It does get a little bit old, but I think he's good. I would just say he's not in that awkward dry humor sort of writing, which is just different and doesn't mean it's bad necessarily. But I think his performance at times, his first couple scenes I really like. But as the movie goes on, his interactions with Napoleon, I felt were less realistic. So if I do have to single somebody out, it is going to be my boy Uncle Rico. Sad to say.
That's tough. I think that's really one of the best characters in this. I think
really
that archetype of it's so funny because it's the guy who's, I would have made it pro.
He was the backup,
like Jacob said. But yeah, he didn't even. It's not even I got injured and would have made it pro. It's I didn't even
sucked.
Play. He just was not good. And I think that's just so funny to me. And I think his pairing in if you look at him in the context of that family and that idea of your family can be so weird and different and vast, and I think it's really funny and cool. I gotta say that Don, the bully guy character, I don't think he's too great in this.
That's my pick.
He's just a dick. Jacob, do you have anything else to? It just doesn't work for me.
It just doesn't work for me either. He also just looks like he's 30 years old, but so do most people in this movie. So
the hairstyle is insane.
But I just don't like him. I just don't.
Fair. That's that one Summer's boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
Blonde, dude.
He's the one who's give me your dots.
Yeah. I agree. I feel he is much older than everybody else in the high school.
I mean, yeah, they're all adults, but he he's gonna have to like Joe Manganiello in the Spider-Man. Like this is a full-grown adult buff dude. Yeah,
that is true. Good pick. I am recasting him, spoiler alert. So that was a good pick as well.
The recast.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
You know, funny enough, Kody, you didn't like him, so I am gonna recast him, Uncle Rico. I think, you know, it's interesting that we mentioned the whole like Jack Black to play the Karate Master thing, because that would be like a good spot for like a little bit of like an upper level cameo character to come in. If we're not going to do that, I think Uncle Rico is another great spot to have like more of a seasoned actor, something that's a little bit more, you know, to bring in the fans. Obviously they didn't need it, but let's do it with Uncle Rico. And this is not someone who I would probably typically ever cast in anything ever, but and maybe it's a little bit unfair because they've worked together, but give me David Spade as Uncle Rico. I think he could do what the Uncle Rico guy is doing, but way better. Just because he's a better actor. He has more experience. He might be a little bit cruder or grosser, but you know what? It's David Spade. Bring him in. Why not? Have some fun with it.
I like that a lot. I think that would definitely be a good choice. Bring a different vibe to the movie. And funny enough, obviously I'm going after Uncle Rico as well. I went with the other Benchwarmers guy. I went with Rob Schneider. So, we're bringing in the Benchwarmers verse here. But yeah, I think David Spade or Rob Schneider would be great if you got them at like that perfect like uncle age. So we're kind of I want to like divvy out the age exactly where I want it for them. But I mean, like you said, they both have great chemistry with John Hader. We've seen that in Benchwarmers, which is one of my personal favorites from growing up. And yeah, you know, John Grease, he's okay, but both of those guys are much more seasoned actors, and they definitely bring off like a much different vibe. I think you can still have that storyline where, you know, he's the failed football player or whatever, but I think they bring a lot more comedy than John did. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, we're talking in tandem here. Jacob, what are your thoughts?
This was probably the hardest part for me because I couldn't really find anyone that I would want to recast as anyone, but just randomly thinking about it, I don't know what character he would play, but I think bringing the indie film legend Steve Buscemi in here somewhere would be hilarious. Just anywhere, just for like 5 minutes, one scene, it'd be great. Don't know who he would play, but you know,
that is a really great idea. And you know, they did this like little TV cartoon series a few years ago, and they brought back all the original cast, and they should have brought Steve Buscemi in to voice a character. That would have been great. And it's a missed opportunity. Let's move on to our final category, the rating.
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong?
Out of 69, of course. We always do that.
Nice.
Jacob, what do you give this movie?
So I was going off my Letterboxd rating because I think I gave it 4 stars out of 5. So roughly 56 out of 69, because obviously this isn't a perfect movie. It's like pretty dull at moments, but you know, it's classic. I don't know. I just give just in the nice middle ground there with the 56.
For sure. Kody, what do you got?
Funny enough, I'm also going 56 here. 56 out of 69. We agree on this movie. I'd probably go 3.5 on Letterboxd, but you know, our rating system's a little bit broken. But yeah, I think you banged it right on the money there. I'm going the same thing.
Yeah, I went 3.5 on Letterboxd, which for me and my rating system brings me down a little bit more to like a 47. It's like right below Fast 5 for me is kind of where I think. So I rank all these movies against each other, the ones we've talked about on the podcast. So in our podcast movie terms, Fast 5 is the one that's right above it, and then right below it is Clueless. So it's sandwiched in between those two films for me. So Napoleon Dynamite, 47 out of 69 for a grand total of 53 out of 69 for a podcast rating. So that was a fun discussion. Great movie. Any closing final thoughts about Napoleon Dynamite before we move on?
I think comedy wise, that might be one of the higher scores we've had like collectively.
That's true. I don't appreciate comedies always on the show.
Yeah,
so
Korbin hates comedies basically, especially grown-ups. But,
he hates laughing.
Yeah, pretty much. That's Korbin in a nutshell. But definitely a good pick, and I think it deserved rating there from all of us.
We need, you know what the problem is? A lot of the comedies we've done, I know people love Grown Ups, but in reality, like The Wrong Missy, And I mean, what other comedies? Like, we don't do good comedies traditionally, so I think this is really refreshing to talk about like a comedy I actually really think is great. And I'm excited in the future to do like some of those like really great comedy classics that I think like 40-year-old version or Super Bad or Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Yeah, stuff like that. But I think we could have a lot of fun talking about the great stuff as well as the bad stuff.
True.
Napoleon Dynamite was a fun one though. Let's move on to We Have a Podgorithm. Second to last segment. For this, we draw a card from this blockbuster movie game. Yes, Kody, season three. Our movie is Beauty and the Beast. Oh, Jacob is not a fan of Beauty and the Beast.
I just don't know what to say.
We'll throw it to Kody first. Cody, give us their thoughts. 30 seconds. Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, you know, one of Disney's original. I believe it was actually nominated for Best Picture, which is kind of crazy. But great music. Love the Candlestick guy. Love the Clock guy. Big fans of them. Haven't seen it for a while. I believe the music is pretty good. Still holds up. But you know, it's the classic love story. I prefer, you know, Gaston. Probably should have gone with him instead of the guy who looks like werewolf. But or Josh Gad. He's cool too. But you know,
Pass.
I'd say
You're done. Time. Pass.
wow, not even going to finish.
I'll go. I'll save Jacob the stress. Okay, so yeah, I gotta first say that this is one of Mina's favorites, Disney princesses. She loves the Emma Watson one, which I do think is actually a pretty good like live action adaptation. They brought the music back. You get Ewan McGregor and Patrick Stewart, which is fun, playing the characters. So yeah, it's a decent flick. I don't know about Josh Gad and the other dude who plays Gaston, but they're okay. And also, Mina loves Napoleon Dynamite, and she was sad I watched this movie without her. So apologies to her, but shout out to a true fan. She'll probably text me about this. Jacob, what are your thoughts? 30 seconds.
I'm going to be real. I haven't seen this movie since I was a little tyke. So, you know, and I've just never been interested in it like at all. So do like the Candlestick dude a lot. Whoever the Beast name is, does he have an official name? Beast? No, that's literally his name. Yeah, he terrified me as a child, so I don't think that's why I watched it after that. I thought he was scary. That's all I got.
I think there are some like scary sequences.
And there is
actually.
time.
There's like fucking that big ass organ like turns into a big face or some shit. I don't know. I haven't.
The
watched
new
it.
one's kind of scary too. Like the character design of the CGI Beast is a little scary.
Yeah. No. So as a kid, yeah, I was a little terrified too. So I backed up.
We'll move on to our final category. Recommendations.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
What have we been into? What do we want to recommend to the listeners? I'll get it started with the first thing, and then maybe we can wrap around and come back to me. Top Gun Maverick comes out this week. Tom Cruise, not a great guy, maybe, you know, Scientologist, interesting character, but he's a movie star, and this is kind of like a movie star movie. Top Gun's obviously a classic from the 80s. I'm interested to see how it performs at the box office. It has been getting some pretty good reviews critically, and I don't know, check it out. I think it would be a fun one to see in theaters, in all honesty. You know, Top Gun obviously wasn't alive to see a movie like that in theaters, so here's a good opportunity. See some planes, do some crazy stunts.
Yeah, it's been getting good reviews, to be fair. And I mean, you throw Miles Teller in with a mustache, can't really complain. So I'll probably see it. I'm not gonna lie.
Jacob is fanning himself. We'll throw it over to him. Hot and bothered.
Just any recommendation, whatever.
Yeah, anything. If anything you've been watching, or if you just want to tell the people to check something out, give it to us.
Today I finished season 3 of Atlanta, which is my favorite show. It ended really weird, but great show. Recommend it if you like surrealism and any type. It's great. It's great. Season 3 is a little less quality than the previous 2, but still a great watch.
Yeah, I've recommended it on the show in the past. Atlanta's great. I haven't been keeping up with the season in the way that I want to, so I'm going to need to come back. I watched the first couple episodes and just kind of fell out of it. But the same thing happened with the second season, and then I kind of came back and binged it all at once. So I will be sure to check it out in the coming weeks. Cody, you got anything else for us?
Yeah, I did want to talk about the Thor trailer briefly. I don't know what to think about the trailer. 'Cause, obviously, it's clashing tones a lot with Christian Bale, who's, as we've talked about before, a great actor, one of the top 5 working today, I'd say pretty easily. It looks like he's going to going down to do some serious shit. But then the other half is, you got Jane Foster, you got Zeus, you got Taika Waititi, you got Korg. I mean, it's the Thor Ragnarok, So I'm interested to see how that plays, just because in Thor Ragnarok, in a lot of the emotional moments or serious moments, it was played off with a joke. So I kind of don't want them to do that to Christian Bale, just because I think he deserves to have a badass, cool villain. And I don't really think he would sign up for something that isn't like that at this point in his career. But it is Marvel. I don't really know. And I'm excited. The trailer got me excited, so props to that. But I mean, Natalie Portman looks jacked, which is cool. But yeah, what do you guys think about it? I thought it looked good. I don't know. Thor 4.
I really like Thor Ragnarok a ton. I think Taika Waititi is great, so I'm very excited for this film.
What do you think about Christian Bale's look?
Yeah, I think it was scary. There's certain times where it looks kind of cheesy and I'm not sure, but then there's other times where I like it. So I'm in a final cut put together.
Right.
I'm more is when I'll judge it. I'll say, I saw something on TikTok today, a really cool, someone basically explained an entire 10 issues of a comic of a Gore the God Butcher to Thor run that was pretty sick.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be pretty cool. Jacob, are you a big MCU fan at all, or what are your thoughts on all this?
I used to, but then all of a sudden I felt like they're all blending together and I was just kind of becoming disinterested. I actually really don't like Thor Ragnarok because I think it tries really hard to be a comedy and I don't think it's funny at all. So,
Hey, fair enough.
We
Different
like
tastes.
We like it a lot. But also I did want to shout out Survivor.
Tonight of the airing of this episode tonight, season finale.
Nice.
Big time stuff. I'll tell you what, the season slow start. We've come along now to the final 5, and I'm interested to see how it ends. Obviously, I think right now it's a mediocre season. If it sticks to landing, I think it could be up there with maybe put it in the 20s. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I definitely think Marianne will win the season. I think she should win the season. But the last time I said that was Rick Devens in Edge of Extinction, and that guy got the boot. So I think we might be in for a bit of an unpredictable finale, and I'm pretty hyped for it. But I wouldn't be surprised to see my boy Mike win either. I think he's had a pretty good edit.
Yeah, you're big into the whole edit thing. I do want to just shout out Jacob. Do you watch Survivor? All you ever seen any Survivor?
No.
Nah, yeah, no. It's actually funny. I have been getting into some older seasons of it, and it is really cool to look at from a production standpoint. The way edits come together. I think we've talked about this on the show before, but just these are real people, but they kind of become these television characters, and it's really easy to binge. It's crazy to see just human emotion when you're starved and you're cold and you're alone.
Yeah.
And you're kind of on the brink of it, and you're fighting for $1 million, and what will you do? How big of an asshole will you do? How many people will you betray? Will you flip on somebody? You really can't trust anybody at any point. I don't think I've ever there's definitely been times where people have been trustworthy, but at the end of the day, everybody lies, and it's, if you want to win, at least you gotta break some hearts. But you also have to keep your alliances and get the people you trust, because that's the only people have to vote for you to win. So it's the people you vote. It's a really interesting show, and I would recommend look up what's a good season and check it out, because you could probably get into it really easily. It's very accessible, and there's also just a lot of differing things. There's a ton of different seasons where they've done a bunch of different stuff, so you can find maybe what your niche is and the type of characters you like. So
yeah, and I think you just started watching Survivor Cagayan, correct, Korbin?
Yeah. So I finished a whole season in 2 days, and then I'm already halfway through another one. This is bad because I haven't been watching movies as much. But
where are you at in Cagayan?
We're post merge. We're 2 episodes. I think we're on episode 8 or 9.
How was that merge episode, dude?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's a lot of stuff happening.
Chaos Cass. Hell yeah, dude.
No, it's crazy. Yeah, Cass is wild. So.
Oh yeah, such a good season. Out of all seasons, that is the one I would recommend. Top 3 season, no doubt. I think you ask anybody in Survivor community. Such good stuff. But yeah, I'm excited you're watching that.
Jacob, any other recommendations for the people?
I'm going to shout out The Northman that just came out not that long ago. It was actually a huge surprise because I saw The Green Knight in theaters, which is kind of similar, I don't know, medieval stuff. I didn't really like it. It wasn't up my alley. And then I saw this movie, and I didn't really know what to expect of it, and it just kept getting crazier and better. So I do really recommend that film and see it in theaters. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's one I wanted to check out for sure. I think we might have I might have missed my window of opportunity to check it out, but streaming soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Kody, any final thoughts?
I got nothing else. Appreciate
right.
you guys tuning in.
Yeah.
The stay capping.
We're finishing out May Mania strong. Stick around with us. Thanks so much for Jacob for being here.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Shout out your letterbox. Shout out if the people want to follow you, anything you want to tell the people.
Shout out my letterbox, Jclobster, JACLOBSTER. I don't know. Shout out Kendrick Lamar. I love that guy.
Shout out Kendrick Lamar. There you go. Thanks for listening. Peace. Hot.
Let's go. Very nice.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.